Alhamdulillah. In the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most gracious, the most merciful, there comes a moment in every believer's life when they wonder, is Allah hearing me? Are my tears reaching Him? Is my dua being carried to the heavens, or is it lost in the silence of my room? What we often forget is that Allah never leaves a heart unanswered. He never ignores a whisper spoken to Him with sincerity, but the way He answers, the signs He sends, they are subtle, deep, transformative. Signs meant not just to change your situation, but to change you. You see, when Allah is about to answer your dua, He begins by reshaping your inner world. He starts with your heart. Suddenly, the restlessness you carried for weeks, months, years begins to soften. You feel a small peace settling inside you, not because the situation has changed, but because you have changed. And that peace is not random. It is one of the first signs that your dua is already unfolding. When Allah is preparing to answer your prayer, He clears paths that you could never clear yourself. Doors you knocked on for so long suddenly open effortlessly, and the ones that were harming you close with a firmness you didn't expect. Sometimes these changes confuse you, sometimes you feel lost before gain, but every shift is with purpose, every move is with divine wisdom. Allah removes what blocks your path so He can place what is written for you. And then Allah guides you toward people, opportunities, conversations, small moments that carry big meaning. A reminder comes in the exact moment you needed it. A person appears with a message that feels like it was written for your heart alone. You are placed in environments that align with your prayer. This isn't coincidence. This is Allah stitching your path with His mercy. Another sign appears inside your own soul. Your attachment transforms. You begin wanting the outcome not just because you desire it, but because you want what Allah wants for you. Your heart shifts from give me what I asked for to give me what is best for me. This surrender is not weakness. It is strength. It is the state of a heart that Allah is preparing to bless. But here's the part most people misunderstand. When your dua is close to being answered, your tests may intensify. Hardship may increase. Things may temporarily become heavier. This isn't rejection, this is elevation. Allah strengthens you before He gifts you. He deepens your reliance before He opens the way. The storm before the dawn is not a sign of abandonment, it is a sign of nearness. And then, like raindrops before a rainfall, small blessings begin to appear. A tiny opening, a small relief, a moment of unexpected ease. These are the gentle signs that Allah's mercy is descending upon your life. They are reminders that He has not forgotten you, not for a single heartbeat. So if you are in that place today, if your hands are raised, if your heart is tired, if your eyes are wet, know this: Allah has already begun the process long before you see the result. He is rearranging your life in ways you cannot imagine. He is writing a story far more beautiful than the one you are holding on to. Trust the signs, trust the timing, trust the one who hears you even when you can't find the words. Your dua is not lost. Your dua is not ignored. Your dua is on its way, carried by the most merciful, written by the most loving, timed by the all-wise. And when it arrives, you will understand why it took the time it did, why certain things had to leave, why certain paths had to close. You will understand that every delay was protection, every tear was a seed, and every moment of patience was building the life you asked Allah for. When Allah begins to answer a dua, the very first place you will feel it is inside your heart. Long before anything changes on the outside, something begins to shift deep within you. It is subtle, gentle, and often difficult to put into words, almost like a breeze that moves through a window you didn't even realize was open. This inner peace is not the result of the dua being physically fulfilled. It is the result of Allah preparing you for what is coming. When Allah answers, the heart is always the first to receive the whisper of that answer. There are moments in life when a person is drowning in worry. Their nights are restless, their days feel heavy, and their mind is constantly racing. They carry a burden on their chest that no one can see, but that they feel every second. They pray, they cry, they beg, and sometimes it feels like nothing is happening. But then, one day, without any visible change, something feels lighter. A calmness begins to settle, not because the situation has improved, not because the problem has disappeared, but because Allah has touched the heart with tranquility. This is one of the greatest signs that a dua is being answered. The heart is granted sukoon, a peace that makes no logical sense, yet feels more real than anything else. This peace is not ordinary. It is not the kind that comes from distractions, entertainment, or temporary comfort. It is a peace that has depth. It doesn't remove your emotions. It stabilizes them. You still care, you still wait, you still hope, but you are no longer being crushed by fear. Instead of feeling desperate, you feel held. Instead of feeling hopeless, you feel guided. It is a calm trust that rises within you, often surprising even yourself. And that shift is from Allah alone. This happens because Allah answers the call of the heart before He answers the call of the tongue. Sometimes when you pray, Allah doesn't change your circumstance immediately. Instead, He changes you. He strengthens you so that you can carry the blessing when it arrives. He calms your heart so you don't destroy yourself with anxiety. He removes the storms inside you before He removes the storms around you. And when the inner storm settles, you begin to understand that this peace is not random. It is a divine response. Many people mistake this tranquility for nothing is happening. They say, I still haven't seen the result. But they fail to realize that this peace is part of the result. It is Allah saying, I am with you. I have heard you. I have begun the process. The heart is the first place. Allah places reassurance because internal transformation is more important than external achievement. You cannot hold blessings with a trembling heart. Allah steadies your heart first so that you can receive what He is preparing for you. This peace often comes in moments when you least expect it. You may be sitting alone thinking about your situation and suddenly you feel a sense of acceptance wash over you. Or you wake up one morning and the heaviness you carried for so long is suddenly softer. Or you cry to Allah at night and afterward feel a warmth moving through you that makes you breathe differently. You begin to feel like you are not alone, like the burden is being shared, because it is. Allah is carrying what you cannot carry. Another sign inside this inner peace is clarity. When Allah is answering your dua, He may not give you the full picture yet, but He gives you small moments of understanding. Your mind becomes clearer, your thoughts become more grounded, and your decisions feel less chaotic. You feel like you can breathe again. You may not know the final outcome, but you know Allah is guiding every step, and this knowing brings its own calm. This peace also changes how you speak to Allah. Instead of praying with panic, you begin to pray with trust. Your dua becomes deeper, softer, more intimate. Instead of pleading out of fear, you plead with certainty. You begin to talk to Allah as someone who already believes the answer is coming, even if you don't know when. This transformation of the heart is one of the most beautiful signs that your prayer is already unfolding. Sometimes this peace comes after a long period of pain. Sometimes it comes after a moment of complete surrender. There are times when Allah waits until your heart breaks just enough for it to become open to real healing, open to real faith, open to a deeper relationship with Him. And then in that brokenness, He sends a calm that repairs you in ways no human being ever could. You begin to feel whole again, even before anything in your life has changed. That is not the world healing you. That is the one who created the world healing you. This peace is a mercy and a sign, but it is also a preparation. Allah prepares you emotionally, spiritually, and mentally so that when the blessing arrives, you can handle it with strength, gratitude, and maturity. If the dua were answered while your heart was still trembling with desperation, you might misuse it, misunderstand it, or lose it. But when Allah answers after granting peace, the blessing becomes stable because the heart receiving it is stable. So if today you feel a calmness where there used to be fear, if you feel a softening where there used to be tension, if you feel a quiet trust where there used to be confusion, understand that this peace is not small. It is not accidental. It is one of the first and clearest signs that Allah is answering your dua. It means the process has begun. The heart always receives the first good news before the eyes ever see it. When Allah is getting ready to answer your dua, one of the clearest signs you will witness is the removal of obstacles that once felt unmovable. You may not notice it immediately, and sometimes the change begins so quietly that you only recognize it when you look back. But Allah, in His wisdom and mercy, starts clearing your path the moment the decree of your dua begins to unfold. For a long time, you may have been pushing, struggling, trying everything you could. You may have felt helpless, blocked, stuck behind walls that refused to move. You might have wondered why your efforts felt wasted, why every door remained locked, why you kept reaching the same barrier no matter how much dua you made. What you didn't realize is that some obstacles are placed by Allah not to punish you, but to protect you. And when He is ready to answer your prayer, the very obstacles He placed begin to lift one by one, like clouds parting to reveal the sky. When Allah removes obstacles, He does so with ease, precision, and perfect timing. A path that once seemed impossible suddenly becomes open. A problem that felt overwhelming begins to unravel. A situation that had no solution suddenly has multiple solutions. These are not coincidences. These are signs. When Allah says be, He doesn't just give you the blessing, He removes everything that stood in its way. At times, Allah removes people from your life as part of clearing the path. People who were draining your energy, holding you back, distracting you from your purpose, or affecting your spiritual clarity may slowly drift away. It may hurt at first, and you may not understand it, but later you realize that their absence opened space for what Allah was preparing for you. Sometimes Allah doesn't allow certain relationships, friendships, or connections to continue because they would become barriers to the dua you made, so He removes them gently, even if you don't understand the wisdom right away. Other times, Allah removes internal obstacles. Your fears, your doubts, your unhealthy attachments, your harmful habits. Sometimes the biggest barrier between you and your dua is not the world outside you, but the world inside you. Allah removes the heaviness of your own insecurities. He softens the hardness in your heart. He clears the mental fog that kept you from seeing what He wants for you. When your heart begins to purify, opportunities that were once invisible begin to appear. When Allah clears internal obstacles, the external ones fall apart on their own. There are also moments when the clearing of obstacles comes in the form of sudden clarity. You start to see why certain things didn't work out. You start to understand why certain prayers were delayed. You start to realize that what you thought was a setback was actually preparation. This clarity itself is a sign that Allah is aligning things in your favor. It means the confusion is lifting and your path is becoming visible. Then there are the moments when obstacles are removed so subtly that you only notice them in hindsight. You look back and say, I don't know how that happened. I don't know how I got through that. I don't know how that door suddenly opened. You may think you were lucky. You may think people helped you. But the truth is Allah helped you through those people. Allah placed ease in your path through His mercy. Allah planned every detail long before you knew what was happening. When Allah removes obstacles, He does it in ways that remind you that He alone is in control. He makes the impossible look effortless. He moves hearts, shifts circumstances, and changes outcomes with a wisdom so perfect you could never recreate it yourself. And when you see this unfold, you begin to understand that no matter how hard life becomes, Allah's power is greater than any barrier in your way. Sometimes, though, the removal of obstacles begins with hardship, a job loss, a rejection, a closed door, a painful ending. All of these can be removals in disguise. You may feel broken when you experience loss, but what you see as destruction may actually be Allah clearing your path. You may think something was taken from you, but Allah may have been clearing space for something better. What feels like a block may actually be a release. There is also a deep lesson within this process. Not all obstacles are meant to be fought. Some are meant to be surrendered to. When Allah blocks your path, it may not be the right path. When Allah clears your path, it is always the right one. The key is learning to trust the movement, the opening and the closing, without forcing what is not written for you. When Allah is answering your dua, the obstacles begin to respect the timing written for you. They no longer imprison you. They no longer hold power over your destiny. What was once a heavy stone in your path becomes light. What once harmed you can no longer reach you. What once delayed you cannot delay you anymore. And often you only realize this when you feel a new kind of ease around you. Things begin to fall into place. Conversations start leading to solutions. People show up to help. Situations unfold smoothly. Your journey, once filled with struggle and resistance, becomes lighter. That ease is not accidental. It is a sign. It is Allah's way of saying, the way is clear now. Move forward. Your dua is coming. So if you find yourself walking through doors you once struggled to open, if you notice obstacles disappearing without explanation, if you feel a strange ease in places where you once felt stuck, understand this deeply. Allah is making way for His answer to reach you. He is clearing the path so that the blessing He wrote for you can arrive with beauty, timing, and perfection. When Allah begins to answer your dua, He guides you toward people, opportunities, and paths that you would never have discovered on your own. This guidance is not always loud, dramatic, or obvious. It often comes quietly, softly, almost like a breeze that shifts the direction of your journey without you realizing that the wind changed. It is only later, sometimes, much later, that you look back and understand that what you thought were random encounters, unexpected events, or sudden ideas were actually divine signs moving you closer to what you prayed for. There are moments in life when you feel lost, unsure of where to go or what decision to make. You ask Allah for help, clarity, and direction, and for a long time you may feel like you're walking in darkness. Then something subtle happens. Someone comes into your life with a message you needed. A conversation takes place that answers a question you've been struggling with. A door opens that leads you toward what you've been asking for. These moments are not coincidences. They are Allah aligning your life in ways you couldn't imagine. Sometimes guidance comes in the form of a person, someone who gives you advice that lights up your path, someone who supports you, someone who motivates you, or even someone who challenges you in a way that helps you grow. Allah places people in your life who are part of the answer to your dua. They may not stay forever. They may simply appear at the right moment, carrying exactly the wisdom or opportunity you needed. And when their purpose is fulfilled, Allah may remove them gently, like a visitor whose time has come to move on. Their presence was not accidental. They were written into your story as part of the response to your prayer. Other times, Allah guides you through opportunities. You may be offered something you never expected, or a path you never considered suddenly becomes available. Sometimes you feel drawn to a particular decision without knowing why. Sometimes you find yourself walking into situations that feel like they were prepared specifically for you. This is how Allah guides, quietly, precisely, with a wisdom far greater than your own. He leads you step by step until the places you reach feel like they were waiting for you all along. One of the most beautiful parts of this process is that the guidance isn't always comfortable. Sometimes Allah guides you by removing you from places you were never meant to stay. He may allow something to fall apart so that something better can fall into place. He may close a door so firmly that you have no choice but to turn in a new direction. And at first this may feel painful. You may question why things didn't go your way, but later you realize that the very moment that broke you was the moment that redirected you toward the dua you were making. Guidance from Allah can also come through intuition, through a feeling in your heart that pulls you toward something meaningful or away from something harmful. It is a nudge, a whisper, a quiet knowing. You may not have logical evidence, but you feel guided. That feeling is not random. When you pray with sincerity, Allah illuminates your heart so you can recognize what aligns with your prayer. He may place restlessness in your heart for things that are wrong for you, and He may place comfort in your heart for things that are written for you. This inner guidance is one of the strongest signs that your dua is being answered. Sometimes Allah guides you through signs, patterns you cannot ignore, messages you keep hearing repeatedly, verses or reminders that appear exactly at the moment you need them. Every reminder that reaches your heart is a sign of Allah's care. When you pray, you become more receptive, more sensitive to His messages. What you once overlooked becomes meaningful. What you once ignored becomes a guidepost. The world around you becomes a classroom, and you begin to see that Allah has always been teaching you, always showing you the way. And there are moments when guidance comes through hardship. A tough situation pushes you toward change. A difficulty forces you to seek new options. A disappointment opens your eyes to a truth you were avoiding. Sometimes the hardship itself is a guiding hand, not to break you, but to move you. Hardships are often the turning points that lead you toward the dua you asked for. They shape you, refine you, teach you, and push you toward what you once thought you could never reach. What makes this guidance miraculous is that it always matches your prayer in ways you cannot predict. You may ask for strength, and Allah guides you to situations that teach you resilience. You may ask for success, and Allah guides you to people who inspire you to grow. You may ask for healing, and Allah guides you to moments that teach you forgiveness, patience, or self-love. Every person, every opportunity, every shift around you is part of a carefully crafted journey. When Allah guides you, nothing is wasted. Even the detours hold meaning. Even the delays carry wisdom. Even the unexpected moments are part of the plan. He connects your past, present, and future with threads so beautifully woven that when you finally see the result of your dua, you understand that every step was necessary. Every person who entered your life, every opportunity you encountered, every redirection you faced, all of them were answers in motion. So if today you feel yourself being pulled toward new paths, if new people are entering your life, if unexpected opportunities are appearing, if your heart is feeling drawn towards certain decisions, know that these may be signs Allah is guiding you. Your dua is being answered through the journey itself. And when you reach the destination Allah has written for you, you will look back and realize that every moment was perfectly placed because Allah was guiding you all along. When Allah begins to answer your dua, something profound happens inside you. Your attachment to the outcome becomes purified. This shift is subtle, gentle, and deeply transformative. It is not an overnight change, nor is it something you force upon yourself. It is a state Allah places in your heart where what you want begins to align with what He wants for you. Your desires soften, your expectations become healthier, and your heart moves from a place of desperation to a place of trust. This transformation is a sign that your dua is unfolding in the most beautiful way. In the beginning, when you make a dua, you often come with intensity. You want something so deeply that your heart clings to it. You imagine it, you hope for it, you beg for it. You may even believe that your happiness depends on it. The desire feels heavy and the waiting feels unbearable. But as you continue turning to Allah, something inside you begins to change. The same dua that once made you anxious now brings you comfort. The same outcome you once obsessed over becomes something you submit to Allah's wisdom. You still want it, but you want it with balance. You still ask for it, but with humility. And slowly your heart begins to detach from it must be this way to, oh Allah, choose for me what is best. This is not a loss of passion or a weakening of your desire. It is growth. It is the elevation of your heart from attachment to surrender. It is the moment Allah places serenity in you so that your dua no longer controls you. Instead, you are guided by trust. You begin to feel that even if things don't unfold exactly how you pictured, Allah's plan will still be good. You start believing that His timing, His path, and His choices will carry more blessing than anything you could design for yourself. And this shift is one of the clearest signs that Allah has already begun accepting your dua, because before He gives you what you want, He aligns your heart with what is right. This purification of attachment doesn't mean you stop caring. You still pray, you still hope, you still long, but your longing becomes healthier. It becomes rooted in faith instead of fear. You stop feeling desperate. You stop feeling like your entire life depends on one result. You realize that Allah is bigger than any outcome, that He is the source of every blessing, and that nothing is worth losing your peace over. When Allah answers a dua, He wants your heart to be ready for the blessing, not drowning in attachment and anxiety. So He purifies your intentions, your expectations, and your inner state. There are moments when this purification feels like loss. Sometimes Allah tests your attachment by delaying the answer or placing obstacles in your way. These are not punishments. They are ways Allah loosens your grip from what could harm you if you held it too tightly. If Allah gave you everything you wanted exactly when you wanted it, you might fall into arrogance, dependence on the creation, or attachment to the gift instead of the giver. So He prepares your heart first. He removes unhealthy desires, reshapes your perspective, and teaches you patience. This inner transformation protects you from receiving a blessing that you are not emotionally or spiritually ready for. You may notice yourself becoming calmer. The same dua that once made your heart race now brings you comfort. You may find yourself no longer checking for signs obsessively, nor stressing over when the answer will come. Instead, your heart settles into a quiet trust. You still make dua passionately, but without fear. You still want the blessing, but you no longer feel defined by it. This balance is a sign of spiritual maturity. It is a sign that Allah is preparing your heart to hold the blessing with gratitude rather than attachment. Another part of this purification is clarity. You begin to see parts of the dua that were driven by ego, fear, or stubbornness. You begin to understand that some of what you wanted was shaped by your limited perspective. And Allah, in His mercy, opens your eyes. He helps you differentiate between what you want and what you need. He guides you to realize that some desires desires were never meant to stay, and others were meant to be transformed. This clarity is a sign of Allah aligning your heart with the deeper wisdom behind your prayer. And then there is the sweetness of true surrender. When your attachment becomes purified, your relationship with Allah deepens. You begin to love Him more than the thing you are asking for. You begin to trust His plan more than your own. You begin to feel safe, even while waiting. This sweetness is a gift, a mercy, a sign that Allah is answering not only your dua, but also your deeper spiritual needs. He is giving you something even greater than the outcome. He is giving you a heart that rests peacefully in His decree. The greatest irony is that once your attachment becomes purified, the very thing you prayed for often becomes closer to you because you no longer cling to it out of desperation. Allah gives it to you at the perfect time, in the perfect way. And even if He replaces it with something better, your heart feels content because it trusts Him fully. So if you find your heart shifting, if you feel yourself wanting what Allah wants, even if it differs from your original hope, if you feel calmer, lighter, more trusting, know that this is not weakness. This is transformation. This is a sign that the dua you made is working inside you long before it works outside you. When Allah answers your dua, He purifies your attachment so that the blessing you receive does not own your heart. Only Allah does, and that is the most beautiful form of acceptance. One of the most powerful signs that Allah is answering your dua is that you begin to see divine ease in places where you once struggled. This ease doesn't necessarily mean life becomes perfect or problems disappear instantly. Instead, it means that Allah starts placing softness, support, and openings in your path that weren't there before. What used to feel heavy becomes manageable. What once felt overwhelming becomes something you can handle with calm. This ease is one of the quiet miracles Allah gives long before the final answer arrives. There are seasons in life where every step feels like a battle. You try, but doors stay closed. You push, but nothing moves. You hold on, but everything feels unstable. During those moments, your dua becomes your anchor. You beg Allah to make things easier, lighter, smoother. And when Allah begins to accept your prayer, ease starts appearing almost invisibly, not always through dramatic changes, but through small shifts that slowly transform your entire experience. Sometimes this ease comes through the reduction of emotional heaviness. You may still have the same responsibilities, the same challenges, and the same tasks, but you no longer feel crushed by them. Your heart feels lighter. You wake up with more energy. You find yourself able to breathe again. The weight that once made you feel trapped suddenly feels easier to carry, not because you became stronger on your own, but because Allah lifted part of the burden from you. He lightened what you could never have lightened yourself. Other times, ease appears through unexpected help. Someone may step into your life offering support you didn't even ask for. A small opportunity appears at just the right moment. A kindness reaches you when you were starting to lose hope. When Allah sends ease, He often sends it through people. People whose hearts He moves, whose words comfort you, whose actions uplift you. Their presence is not random. They are part of Allah's plan, part of the unfolding of your dua. Every person who shows up for you at the perfect time is a reminder that Allah has already begun working behind the scenes. Ease can also come in the form of clarity. Worries that once consumed you become easier to manage because Allah gives you insight you didn't have before. You start understanding what steps to take, what decisions to make, what path to choose. Confusion turns into direction. Doubt turns into certainty. This clarity is a mercy because when your mind becomes clearer, the journey becomes lighter. You begin to feel that you're not stumbling anymore. You're being guided. Then there are moments when ease comes by Allah removing something harmful from your path. Maybe a toxic relationship ends. Maybe a draining commitment falls away. Maybe a situation that was suffocating you dissolves on its own. At first you may feel shaken, confused, or unsure why things had to fall apart. But later you recognize that Allah wasn't taking something from you. He was freeing you. He was clearing room for the blessings you asked for. Sometimes ease is the absence of what was hurting you. Allah also grants ease through resilience. You may still face difficulties, but you no longer break under them. Your patience grows, your strength increases, your heart becomes more stable. You stop being overwhelmed by what once shattered you. This internal ease is one of the biggest signs that your dua is unfolding, because when Allah strengthens you, He prepares you to receive the blessing without being destroyed by the process. Your emotional capacity expands, and suddenly life feels more bearable. There are times when ease comes through small, everyday moments that lift your soul, a peaceful prayer, a verse that speaks directly to your heart, a tear that releases pressure you've been holding for too long. These moments may look ordinary, but they carry divine softness. They are signs that Allah is close, listening and responding even before the main answer reaches you. One of the most beautiful forms of ease is when you find comfort in worship. You begin to enjoy praying, making dua, reading Quran, or sitting quietly with Allah. What once felt like effort turns into nourishment. Your heart feels at peace in sujood. Your tears feel healing instead of painful. This spiritual ease is a powerful sign that your dua is being accepted because Allah is pulling you closer to Him, strengthening your connection so that when the blessing comes, your gratitude will be deep and sincere. Ease also appears in timing. Things start aligning without force. Opportunities come at the right moment. Plans unfold smoothly. You find yourself being guided step by step toward outcomes you once chased desperately. When Allah brings ease, things begin to fall into place effortlessly, proving that nothing happens without His will. And sometimes ease comes in the form of acceptance. You may realize that your heart is no longer resisting what Allah has written. You feel a sense of surrender, not out of defeat, but out of trust. You begin to say, "Oh Allah, I want what you want for me." This acceptance brings deep peace, because when your heart stops fighting the decree, your entire life becomes lighter. So if you feel things slowly becoming easier, even if the change is small, if you feel support coming your way, if you feel clarity replacing confusion, calm replacing anxiety, strength replacing weakness, understand that these are not coincidences. They are signs that Allah is already answering your dua. Divine ease is one of the earliest responses to a prayer. It is Allah's way of telling you, "I heard you, I am guiding you, I am helping you, keep going." And when ease enters your path, even in the smallest ways, it is a sign that something beautiful is being prepared for you, with precision, mercy, and perfect timing. When Allah answers your dua, one of the most profound signs is a deep and unshakable sense of contentment placed inside your heart, long before anything changes on the outside. It is the kind of peace that does not make sense to the world, because it is not tied to outcomes, timelines, or circumstances. It is the quiet whisper inside your chest that says, "You are held, you are seen, you are taken care of." And this serenity arrives like rain after a long drought, softening the hardness, cooling the fire of overthinking, and giving your soul a place to finally rest. This contentment is not the result of getting exactly what you asked for. It is the result of trusting the one you asked. Sometimes before the blessing arrives, Allah purifies your heart so deeply that you stop needing the blessing to feel whole. You stop depending on the outcome to feel safe. You stop tying your worth to whether your dua is fulfilled in the way you imagined. Instead, something shifts inside you. You begin to feel anchored, even in uncertainty, calm even when you don't yet see the answer, steady even when your circumstances remain the same. This is Allah answering your dua by healing the inside before He transforms the outside. Contentment from Allah is unlike anything this world can give. It is not the false comfort that disappears when things go wrong. It is not the shallow happiness that can be broken by a single disappointment. It is a divine gift that settles into the deepest layers of your soul. You begin to feel at peace with what Allah has written, even if you wished it had been written differently. You begin to feel grateful for what stayed and grateful even for what left, because Allah makes you feel that everything is unfolding with wisdom. You no longer look back with regret nor forward with fear. You begin to walk through life with the quiet certainty that your Rabb is with you. You may still feel sadness, you may still face challenges, you may still long for your dua to unfold, but underneath all of that, there is a softness, a surrender, a quiet reassurance that Allah is already working in your favor. This reassurance is a sign that your heart is being guided, and guidance is one of the greatest answers to dua. Sometimes Allah answers you not by changing your situation, but by changing your heart so you can rise above the situation. And when the heart rises, the weight of dunya no longer crushes you the way it once did. This contentment is not passive. It does not mean you stop striving or stop praying. It means you continue to try, you continue to hope, but you no longer carry the burden alone. You hand it over to Allah while still walking forward with dignity. You begin to rely on Him instead of relying on outcomes. You start to say, Ya Allah, if this blessing is good for me, open it for me, and if it is not, guard me from it, and make my heart content with your decree. This is a dua that only a heart softened by divine contentment can make. When Allah puts contentment in your heart, you start seeing life differently. Little things don't shake you the way they used to. People's opinions lose their power over you. Delays don't scare you. Rejections don't break you. You begin to see beyond the immediate moment and recognize the unseen protection behind every closed door. You begin to taste the sweetness of trusting Allah's timing, even when your own timing feels urgent. You realize that the one who controls the universe is not careless with your story. He is crafting it with precision, mercy, and love. This inner contentment also frees you from becoming a prisoner of your desires. You stop believing that your happiness depends on one outcome, one person, one opportunity, or one dream. When Allah places sakina in your heart, you realize that your happiness was never tied to dunya. It was always tied to Him. And when the source of your peace becomes Allah, nothing in this world can steal it from you. Not loss, not delay, not disappointment. You become grounded in something eternal. And here lies the beautiful paradox. When you stop begging the outcome to complete you, Allah often gives it to you in a way that elevates you. When you stop chasing, life starts coming towards you. When your heart releases the grip of desperation and embraces surrender, blessings begin to flow with ease. Because Allah's promise is clear. When you choose Him above the outcome, He gives you something far greater than the outcome. So, if you ever feel that unexpected peace entering your chest, if you feel calm in a moment when you should logically feel overwhelmed, know that this is not random. This is Allah placing contentment as a sign that He has heard you, that He is responding to you, that He is preparing your heart for what is coming. It is His way of telling you, my servant, you are not waiting alone. Sometimes the biggest answer to your dua is not the blessing you receive, but the heart He builds inside you while you wait. And when that heart is filled with contentment, you will realize that you were never abandoned. You are being prepared, strengthened, and elevated, and that the peace you feel now is itself an answer more precious than anything you once asked for. And so, as you gather every sign, every moment of softness, every shift within and around you, remember this: Allah never leaves a dua unanswered. Not a single tear has been wasted. Not a single whisper of your heart has been ignored. Whether He gives, delays, replaces, purifies, protects, or transforms, He is responding with a wisdom greater than your longing and a love deeper than your wounds. The journey of dua was never meant to be a transaction. It was meant to be a transformation. You came to Allah asking for something outside of you, but He often answers by changing what is inside you. You thought you needed the blessing, but He knew you needed the strength. You thought you needed the opening, but He knew you needed the guidance. You thought you needed the outcome, but He knew you needed the nearness. Every step, every delay, every ease, every difficulty has been part of a divine conversation that is still unfolding. So do not walk away from your dua. Do not think that silence means rejection. Do not assume that waiting means absence. The same Allah who carried you through every heartbreak will carry your dua to the perfect moment He has written for it. Trust His timing even when yours is trembling. Trust His plan even when you cannot see beyond the next step. Trust His mercy even when your heart feels tired, because the one who hears you is closer than your own breath, and He is more loyal to your happiness than you could ever be. Hold your dua the way a traveler holds a lantern in the dark, close to your heart, with hope, with patience, with certainty. And when Allah finally unveils the answer, whether in the form you dreamed of or in a form you never imagined, you will look back and realize that you were being carried all along. You were never delayed. You were never denied. You were only being prepared for something worthy of the wait. May Allah fill your heart with peace, illuminate your path with guidance, and grant you answers that lift you, heal you, and draw you nearer to Him. And may every dua you make become a doorway to something better, something softer, richer, truer, and more beautiful than what you once asked for. Ameen.